Michael Jordan is the one who's going to posthumously induct him into the Hall of Fame this weekend. And it was a beautiful piece on this very subject matter by ESPN senior writer Jackie MacMullan called The Last Communication Between Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. And Jackie, kind enough to join us right here on this edition of The Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Jackie?
Hey, Rich. It's been a while.
It has been.
I think I've seen your wife more recently than I've seen you, actually.
There's a lot of people who say that because it's true, and I appreciate that. She sends her best to you too, Jackie. So I'll give you the floor. People who may not have seen your piece, it is beautiful, and it strikes at the heart of the sadness, but also, I guess, commemoration that this weekend is for Kobe Bryant. I'll give you the floor on this story about Jordan and the final communication between he and Kobe.
Well, I think, Rich, those of us close to the game knew how much Kobe reached out to Michael, but I'm not sure that general fans did. And particularly near the end of his career, Kobe was talking to Jordan all the time, calling him at all hours of day and night. And, Michael was the first to admit at times it was kind of annoying even because he had made the famous proclamation, hey, if you ever need anything, give me a call. And boy, did Kobe call again and again and again and again. And so that's how this relationship became so strong. Michael's very different from Kobe in this one way. And you were around Michael, so you know this. He wasn't big on letting everybody in on what he was up to. He very much kept it to himself. He didn't court journalists the way Kobe did. Kobe was brilliant at it. I remember when Kobe passed, how many of my colleagues were like, well, I was really close with him. Everybody felt like he was. Kobe had that gift to make you all feel like you were on the inside, right? He was good at that. Jordan, much more private. So I think that's why we didn't know the depth of this relationship. I did one of the final pieces I did on Kobe was examining all the role models that he had, all the people that he looked to become the best that he could be, and including Michael Jackson. He was tapping into Michael Jackson and asking him, he went up to Neverland and asked him about how he learned to, do Smooth Criminal, and Michael Jackson showed him films of Fred Astaire. And he said, you've got to learn from all the greats. Go out and learn from all the greats. And so that's what Kobe did. He called Larry Bird on the golf course. He very famously went down and spent a weekend with Hakeem Olajuwon so he could learn how to play out of the post. He hit up Dr. J and, of course, Magic and Jerry West and all the great Lakers that he was around as a young player. And of course, he hit up Jordan. And I think Jordan, to him, was who he wanted to be. He wanted to be better than Jordan. And Jordan came to view him as his little brother. And I thought the most, this piece that I did the other day, the thing that I thought was most interesting, while the final text is heartbreaking for all of us, right? The thing that jumped out at me that Michael said was, I think Kobe was mentally tougher than me. How many people can say that? And Jordan, I don't imagine he'd say it about anybody else. And I said, well, what do you mean by that? And he said, listen, he wanted to be me. And all my fans disliked him for it. They said, stop trying to copy the greatest of all time. You're never going to get there. And he didn't listen. He just put his head down and continued to do that anyway because their games were so similar. And so that, to me, was quite an admission from the great Michael Jordan, who obviously is going to be here this weekend and will stand up on stage with Vanessa to help induct Kobe into the Hall of Fame.
Jackie MacMullan here on the Rich Eisen Show. Again, that piece is on ESPN Plus. The last communication between Jordan and Bryant. It did hit me, just the fact that he's saving this, right? Like he just won't.
That's it. Yeah.
And it was sent in
I'm
December,
sure you have
right?
It was that in your life, right?
Well, I mean,
I'm sure you've lost people in your life.
Jackie, I'll share with you since you just brought that up. I was literally sitting there thinking, do I share it? I still have the last voicemail that my dad sent me on my phone, and I won't erase that. And it's so what? Just walk me through what Jordan's thought process of keeping it, because obviously we all have that.
Sure.
But, and it was sent to December, right? The December before he passed.
December 8th. Yeah, It was December 8th, right around the holidays, and Jordan got a text that it was right around afternoon time, about 12:18, and Kobe said something like, well, this tequila is awesome, because, Jordan had started the Socorro label with Jeannie Buss of the Lakers and Wick Grosbeck of the Celtics and Wes Edens of the Bucks. They had all kind of combined to do this great tequila, and he had sent Kobe a bottle of it at the launch, and So he said, "Oh, thanks. You good? Sure. Family good? Yep. Everybody's good." And so Jordan just got a real kick out of the fact that Kobe was coaching Gigi. He just thought that was wonderful, and like anything Kobe does, had really thrown himself into it. So he decided to have a little fun, as he said. So we'll catch you, happy holidays. And what's this about Coach Kobe? And he said, "Yeah, you know it, man." And he said, "I'm sitting here on the bench right now. We're blowing them out, 45-8." And that was the last communication between them. And as Jordan said, the reason I saved it's just typical Kobe, just the competitiveness of him and how much Kobe had really wrapped himself up in his family in his retirement. It's funny not funny, but when Kobe passed, I was skiing actually with my family. My daughter lives in Colorado, and literally a stranger came up to me on the mountain to tell me. I didn't know. I had my phone in my ski jacket, but I wasn't looking at it. I was on vacation, and when he told me, of course, I went inside. My phone had blown up, so I left the mountain and went home to write, and I started calling around, and so many of the people that I would have guessed Kobe was sort of close to said, I was close to him, but really he had thrown himself into his family. His circle was small. It was very, very small. And I remember I texted Michael that day, and I said, "Look, I know this is really hard. What are you thinking?" And he said, "Too devastated. I have no words," because he was part of that inner circle.
It's kind of crazy too, Jackie, though. I just remember, because that was part of the last dance of Kobe and Madison Square Garden, waving Karl Malone off the blocks at that All-Star game, right? And
right. Great moment.
But it was, and how, at the time, the brashness of Kobe at the beginning, and you're kind of pulling back the curtain a bit about how he was reaching out to a bunch of people, including Jordan, but at the time, it was kind of like, he was crashing away, a goat party, and now he's getting into the hall this weekend with Jordan posthumously inducting him. And I'm wondering what you think Kobe would think of the class that he's going in with, obviously not the manner,
right.
But what do you think if he would think of this, best you can tell, Jackie?
Well, I think he would be very pleased to go in with someone like KG, whose intensity was off the charts, much like Kobe's was, and then someone like Tim Duncan, who had a sort of wiseness to the way he played the game, evolved over time into a different player, which is something Kobe did, and I think he would have had great respect for that. I would argue this is the most star-studded Hall of Fame class ever, with those three in it, and so I think he would have enjoyed his place in it. I think Kobe would have stolen the show. Even though he's not here, he's going to steal the show. And, that brassness you talked about, that really turned some guys off in the beginning, Rich, as you recall, including Shaq. Shaq in the beginning was like, hey, young fellow, wait your turn. This is my team. And, Shaq very famously told me a story once that Kobe was, going out shooting, hot dogging, and Del Harris was the coach and pulled him out and sat him down the end of the bench. And one of Jerry Buss's friends came out of the stands and said, "Put him back in." I mean, that's the kind of stuff they were dealing with, It was, and Jordan's right. He mentions in the piece that you've referenced that people forget it didn't happen all right away for Kobe. He was not Rookie of the Year averaging 30 minutes a game. That's not how it went. He had to wait his turn. He had to, he played limited minutes. He had to earn it, and he did it all on as an 18-year-old kid on a team with guys that were older, savvier, more mature, and like to have some fun at his expense at times. He was a kid. And so when you think about that, and Jordan, the word Jordan used was self-made, I think it just makes you admire even more what he was able to accomplish on the basketball court.
Jackie MacMullan here on the Rich Eisen Show, ESPN senior writer, and also we see Jackie on so many ESPN shows right here on the Rich Eisen Show. What do you think Jordan's speech is going to be like? What do you think?
Well, I'm not sure in the end that Michael's going to be the one doing the talking. There's been talk now that perhaps Vanessa's going to do the actual talking.
Okay.
And I think Jordan will probably have a little bit of sadness, but also relief. He was very concerned about containing his emotions, as everyone remembers at the Staples Center Memorial. Jordan couldn't contain his emotions, didn't even try, wept through the whole thing. And I would imagine it would be similar here this weekend. So he may not end up being the person that speaks on behalf of Kobe. It may be that his wife Vanessa decides to do that. But either way, I just got here a little while ago, and it's all anyone's talking about is Kobe. The emotions of it, that someone dying so young, and the tragedy of that helicopter crash with so many people died so young. Not just Kobe, not just Gigi.
Right.
There were other teenagers and young parents on that flight. The pilot was, I don't think, even 50 years old. I mean, a lot of people died young during that tragedy, and I always like to mention the other people that lost their lives today because their lives are no less important than Kobe's or Gigi's, and I think Kobe and Gigi would be the first to say that.
Well said, Jackie MacMullan. Well said. And then, that will obviously be quite a remarkable moment. And I'm assuming who else is going to be there? Who else are we hearing that's going to be there? Because this is also two classes combined and so many people who want to be there. And good to know that the CDC's changed, made their ruling on Thursday that maybe more and more people might be more comfortable coming now. I don't know. Last minute, I'm just throwing all this together.
Yeah,
in my head.
Yeah, I don't think that's possible, Rich. This thing has been planned for so long, and I've been doubly vaccinated for months, but I had to still present a negative COVID test when I checked in here today.
Okay,
it's masks on everywhere. This is one of the most coveted tickets probably in Hall of Fame history in some regards. And because of COVID, they moved it out of Springfield to Mohegan Sun, where they can socially distance a little more effectively.
Okay.
One of the great events of Enshrinement Weekend is they always have this pre-ceremony cocktail party, which is it's my favorite weekend because, you bump into Sam Jones and Oscar Robertson and, whomever else. Spencer Hayward, who's a regular here and just a terrific guy. You always are happy to see him. And those pre-ceremony receptions are going to be split up into 6 different restaurants. You can't even have everybody all in the same place. So it's going to be a very different feel to it. But when the actual enshrinement ceremony happens on Saturday, everybody's going to be under one roof, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm going to be there as a spectator on Saturday, not as a journalist. I'm going to be there as witnessing 3 guys that I covered closely. Rudy Tomjanovich, of course.
Oh, boy, that's
who I also, covered extensively, and I'm so happy for him to get in. The great Tamika Catchings is getting in. And then someone that people should know more about, her name is Barbara Stevens. We called her Barty Stevens. She was the Bentley College coach in Waltham, Mass., not far at all from where I grew up, actually. She actually recruited my sister when she was at Clark University in Worcester, so I've been following Barbara's career for many years. Very well deserved. She's got over 1,000 career wins. She's probably the name people don't know but should know from this class, too. She's well deserved to be part of this, really elite group. It's going to be fantastic. I'm really looking forward to it.
I'm glad you've given me that perspective, Jackie. I'll be honest, I just got really emotional hearing you mention Tamika Catchings for some reason, and that is also just
fantastic, right?
Well, she's not only fantastic, but the fact is that Kobe being a girl dad and what women's and girls basketball meant to him as well, certainly in the final years of his life. I think he would be like over the moon that he's going in with her.
Right.
100%.
The only thing that's too bad is because of COVID and because this ceremony had to be delayed. It's normally in September. The NBA is in full throttle here. So, for instance, and I haven't talked to Doc, so I don't know. Doc Rivers has a game today, and then he has a game on Sunday. Is he going to try to, scoot in here to be here for KG? Is it even possible? Does it make any sense? Because Doc would love to be here. I don't know if I've ever talked to Doc Rivers about KG without him choking up. That's how much he feels for KG. And, of course, seriously, they just, he knows that KG was the heart and soul of that 2008 championship team. And then now you've got Greg Popovich, and I haven't looked at their schedule, but Greg Popovich and Tim Duncan were synonymous with one another, probably similar to Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. And there's a very good chance. I'm guessing he can't possibly get here because again, his team is in schedule.
I'm looking at Saturday's schedule, and Phoenix is at San Antonio. I mean, that's a pretty.
It's not going to happen.
Pretty significant game in the Western Conference standings, and then that's the way.
So that's the only shame of it. Normally this event is held when the NBA is idle.
Right.
And it's a shame because I think more players, current players would have loved to have been here. So many of them revered Kobe so much. Name them, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, all those guys. They've spoken eloquently how much Kobe meant to them. Jamal Murray, I did a story, Jamal Murray, earlier in the year, and he was talking about being invited to Kobe's camp and how it was just a life-changing experience for him. So I think many of those guys, Chris Paul, another one, if they could be there, they would, but they can't. This is the final weekend of a really bizarre NBA season where playing games matter, and almost hardly any teams are out of it, and so it's won't be quite the same.
Well, I'll help you out on this one. There's just 2 Sixers home games wrapped around the ceremony, and if protocols if protocols can be followed, maybe Doc will do it. And it's interesting, on Saturday, Boston at Minnesota, so 2 KG franchises that he is so synonymous with will play. They're playing each other. Before I let you go, give me. Duncan's speech. Is there an over/under, like less than 5 minutes? You got that for me?
Well, Rich, don't you know it's going to be the most hilarious one of all? My over/under is, what is he going to wear? He's not going to wear a tuxedo, right? Is he going to wear a suit and tie? Is he going to button up first this one time?
I don't know.
I can't wait. Tim Duncan to me is endlessly fascinating because he's so tremendously talented, but also just because he was just such a quiet superstar and never really gets his due, in my opinion. Is he the greatest power forward of all time?
You can make that case. The big fundamental.
Yeah.
So, and then last one, KG speech. That one, I need to, find out if I can, see that one live. So, that'll be. You
shouldn't get close to it because, you might get the spittle. It might be in your face. He only does things fast and furious. That's the only way he knows how to go about things. So, I think it's all going to be great.
Jackie, I appreciate the insight again. A beautiful piece that you wrote about Kobe and Jordan, and I'd love to have you back on during the playoffs. Let's talk some hoops. Let's do it. Thanks for the call.
Enjoy your day. Thank you.
Enjoy the weekend. Jackie MacMullan here, a senior writer and contributor and commentator for ESPN and analyst right here. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.